Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa salatu wa salam ala ashrafil mursaleen Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So we are talking about the misconception that, there is a lot of domestic violence in Muslim countries, especially in dealing with women, that Muslim men always mistreat women. And some people, some non-Muslims think that this is connected in one way or the other with the teachings of Islam. And indeed, there is a verse in the Quran which is misunderstood even by Muslims. So they justify their violence against their wives, quoting the verse, that the verse allows them to do that. So today we will see what's the real interpretation of this verse. What did the Prophet ﷺ say about it? What was the comments of his companions? And how did the Prophet ﷺ, who is our role model, how did he treat his wives? So we model ourselves upon the example of the Prophet ﷺ. So although there is little data available, this is according to research, and great variation in how psychological violence is measured across countries and cultures, existing evidence shows high prevalence rates. In other words, there is physical and psychological violence against women all over the world. It's not only a problem prevalent in Muslim countries, it's prevalent all over the world. And you will be shocked when I will inform you about countries which are famous for femicide. Femicide means killing women. So among the top 5 countries where femicide is prevalent, no Muslim country is included. So we will see that. Now, 43% of women in the 28 European Union member states have experienced some form of psychological violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Psychological violence could be threatening them, not talking to them, behaving in such a way that you leave them in suspense, in doubt, so they don't know how you'll react the other day or the other minute. So you are not intimate with them, you misinterpret what they say, what they do. So all in all, there is a lot of psychological violence, which is not less than physical violence. So psychological violence can lead to some other problems. Now, the 28 European Union members, they are not Islamic countries, yet this problem is prevalent over there. So it's even in research, and a lot of concerned people are talking about this problem. Domestic violence among Muslim communities is considered a complicated human rights issue due to varying legal remedies for women by the nations in which they live. Now, the problem again is, in some nations, some societies, people are not necessarily ruled by the teachings of Islam. We have international law, you have martial law, you have different laws which work even in some Muslim communities. So we cannot say that whatever is prevalent in terms of the judicial system in some Muslim countries, this necessarily represents Islam. So even in some situations where you have some communities which claim to be implementing the Islamic law, they have their own interpretation. They don't implement it in the proper interpretation, how the Prophet ﷺ implemented it and how his companions did that. So you have conservative interpreters of Surah of the Quran, especially Surah An-Nisa, the 4th chapter that talks about women, verse number 34. This is where the problem comes from. Even within Muslims, they get their misconception here because there is the word darb, fadribuhunna. So you beat them in some situations. Now, the word darb has a lot of connotations. One of them is to assault, to attack, to beat, to hit, to knock, to slap, to strike, to tap, punch, move. It also means traveling around the world. And if you are a soccer player or football player, Darbatul Jaza is a penalty. So this one word has caused a lot of problems due to different interpretations. But in such a situation whereby you have a word that bears a lot of connotations, so if you want to understand the real meaning, you refer to the interpretation of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his bona fide companions. So this is where the problem came, people interpreting this verse in different ways, especially the word darb. So other interpretations of the verse claim it does not support hitting a woman. So you have those who say it supports hitting a woman. Others say it does not support it. So there are variations in interpretation which are due to different schools of Islamic jurisprudence, historical views, and politics of religious institutions, reforms and education, etc. So such people, for example, who say it's allowed to beat a woman, they are sometimes influenced by their different schools of Islamic jurisprudence, politics, culture. Maybe some of them need to be popular. For so many reasons, they are influenced. So if you are influenced by something, you will try to interpret the text in such a way that they support your views. Like, for example, when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, he said he was fighting jihad. So the lay people who did not understand the meaning of jihad did support him. Yet he was far away from jihad. So what the point is, some groups, some people would interpret the verses, skew them according to their whims, desires, and according to their agenda. So Abdullah Yusuf Ali, in his commentary of this verse 34, chapter 4, he says, in case of family jars, what he means by family jars, this is collusion, when there are problems, especially between a husband and wife, when they clash with one another, when there is painful disagreement between them. In case of such a situation, 4 steps are mentioned to be taken in that order. So if there is a misunderstanding, if there is collision between a husband and wife, in order to remedy the situation, these 4 steps have to be taken. The first one should be verbal advice or admonition. So the man should sit with his wife and start talking to her. Try to find out where the problems come from, where the problems emanate, and try to talk to her in a very good way, in a polite manner. And it's even advisable by experts that you change the environment. You take her somewhere. Even you might necessarily need to take her on vacation in a place where she feels relaxed, comfortable, and then you start talking to her. Now, this advice alone, if you want to implement it effectively, you have to read about psychology. You have to read books about women, about men. What are the situations in which if you put the woman in, she will agree to what you say? How should you talk to her? How should you begin? So it does not just stop over there. So you begin with the end in mind. So you make sure that all the means of seeking to advise your wife are effective. So you do a research and you do advise her in a good way. Not like in most cases, a woman, when he advises his wife, he's like talking to his 10-year-old son, yelling, shouting, threatening. And when you ask him, he says, I advised her. So which type of advice? You were not advising. You were threatening. You were yelling. So I paid a lot of money in dowry. So you have to obey me. You have to do this. So the way they advise, even if the woman wants to remedy her misbehavior, because of the way the husband is talking to her, she will feel pushed to a wall. She would feel sandwiched. So we have to explore the most effective means of solving our problems. So if this does not work, you've explored all the possible means to remedy the situation, she's still recalcitrant, she's still disobedient to you, then the second one is, don't be intimate with her. You suspend intimacy. You stay with her in the same house, under the same roof, in the same room, but don't be intimate with her. So to make her feel that you are annoyed with something. Now, this is not uniform. Some women would be concerned when you stop being intimate with them. Some of them would be happy. So you know the personality of your wife very well. So you have to explore the weaknesses, whereby if you do something, you know she likes it, and then you can tell her, because of this and that, I won't do this and that. Some people, for example, when they come for the marriage course, they tell me that their wives like talking to them a lot. So when he stops talking to his wife, she feels that there is something serious. So she would be willing to reconcile with him. So for him, if there is any problem, stop talking with his wife. This will work. So every person, every human being has a way of dealing with them. If you are a teacher, for example, in a school, there is a different way in punishing different students. So you don't bring a uniform punishment to all of them. It might work with someone, but it won't work with the other person. So the main aim of punishment is to make someone reform. And if you can do it in a civilized way, you will get the best results. So this is the second advice. You stop being intimate with her. Actually, there is a quote which is actually a prophetic tradition, a prophetic narration, in which the Prophet ﷺ says, the best of men are those who are best to their wives. The best of men are those who are best to their wives. So if you want to be the best of men according to this narration of the Prophet, then you have to make sure you are the best in terms of dealing well, graciously, kindly with your wife. So I don't think that to be the best in dealing with your wife, you will need even to strike her. This will be the last thing you could think about. Then, if this is not sufficient, some slight physical correction may be administered. Now, this is where the problem comes. This is where the problem comes. So the Muslims, some of them, they feel that, we've been given a carte blanche to punish our wives. So if she does a slight mistake, he would punch her, he would slap her, as though he is in a boxing ring. So we will see what it really means. And if this fails, then there is a family council. So you would invite representatives from her family and representatives from your family in order to solve the problem. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَاللَّاتِ تَخَافُونَ نُشُوزَهُنَّ فَعِضُوهُنَّ وَاهْجُرُوهُنَّ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ فَإِنْ أَطَعْنَكُمْ فَلَا تَبْغُوا عَلَيْهِنَّ سَبِيلًا. Translated as to wives whose flagrant defiance you fear, you shall admonish them. And should they persist, part with them in bed. And should they persist, tap them slightly. So here, darb means tap them slightly, according to some translations. And perhaps they took this from one of the interpretations of one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, Ibn Abbas. But if they obey you, then do not seek to go against them in any way. Indeed, Allah is ever exalted, all great. Now here the word, the misdeed, which entitles a husband to seek to remedy the misbehavior of his wife, is an-nushuz. Now an-nushuz has also a lot of connotations. It means هو الارتفاع بحيث تكون الزوجة مرتفعة عن زوجها تاركة لأمره معرضة عنه مبغضة له. So nushuz means it's the vice of a wife elevating herself over her husband in that she feels superior to him and she feels higher than him in dignity. So the wife reaches a point whereby she feels she is superior to you, she is better than you. Whatever you tell her, she doesn't listen to her, and by this she feels she hates you, she's averse to you. So this is the meaning of nushuz, and actually it has a lot of connotations. Now if someone is a clever man, if you feel that your wife hates you, someone who used to love you and now feels superior to you, so you have to ask yourself, why did she reach at this point? So before even you talk to her, try to flash back on your relationship, how it began and where it is. Maybe it's something that you did which made her reach to this point. 1. 2, which is actually very, very important. When you choose to marry a woman, you marry her because you like her, because you feel you will love her after you like her, because she attracts you. You don't marry her because of her wealth. You don't marry her because of her nationality. You need passport. So the point is, your intent, your reasons for marrying her have to be genuine within the parameters of the teachings of Islam. And the Prophet warned us that if you marry her because of her beauty, you will lose your dignity. If you marry her because of her wealth, you will be poor. He said you marry her because of being religious. And if she's beautiful, religious, from a noble family, rich, actually you are blessed. So the point here, don't marry her because of ulterior motives. Marry her because you chose her as your wife. You want her to be your wife on this earth and in the hereafter, and you want the marriage to be perpetuated. If you have other ulterior motives, the problems will happen. Allah will not bless you if your intentions are not clean and clear. And before you marry, you seek the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, and nushuz can also be from the part of a wife, so she feels superior to the man. It can also be from the part of the man. Also, it can be from both. So it could be a man hating his wife, a wife hating her husband, and both of them hating one another. All these come under a nushuz. So there are some other connotations of a nushuz as well. each spouse transgresses and he is hostile towards the other. So you don't fulfill your duties, you mistreat one another, you feel you hate one another, you feel you were forced to be with one another. It's also one of the connotations of an-nushuz. It is hatred harbored by one of the spouses for the other, or by each of them for the other. You hate one another. It's one of the spouses to differ. It means one of the spouses to differ from one another. So someone has an opinion, another one has an opinion, and sometimes they choose to differ obstinately, stubbornly. There is no reason. They don't have justifications. Just because he or she doesn't like him, he doesn't like her, whatever she says, even if it makes sense, he will try to make sure he gives her the impression that it doesn't make sense. So now, some types of punishments may work on some people and some might not work. So it's not compulsory that you have to follow all these steps when you're dealing with the misbehavior of your wife. These are just some tips that Allah is giving you. So if they don't work, then you have to explore other means. So in a hadith that was narrated by Jabir ibn Abdullah, one of the bona fide companions of the Prophet ﷺ, he says, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ فِي النِّسَاءِ فَإِنَّهُنَّ عَوَانٌ عِنْدَكُمْ وَلَكُمْ عَلَيْهِنَّ أَنْ لَا يُطِئِنَ فُرُشَكُمْ أَحَدًا تَكْرَهُونَ فَإِنْ فَعَلْنَ ذَلِكَ فَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ ضَرْبًا غَيْرَ مُبَرِّحٍ وَلَهُنَّ عَلَيْكُمْ رِزْقُهُنَّ وَكِسْوَتُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. So it is an authentic hadith in Sahih Muslim. So what does it mean? Fear Allah regarding women, for they in most cases stay in your houses, in that they don't always go out. Now there's something I want to point here. You know, in one of the translations, the word awan is translated as assistants. And actually, if you go into any Arabic book of hadith, especially when they interpret the narrations of the Prophet ﷺ, they will tell you awanun means asira. So because in most cases, most cultures, women don't work, they don't go out, especially in the past, during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, so they wouldn't go out, they were staying always inside. So the Prophet ﷺ says, do not mistreat them, fear Allah, don't accuse them, don't bring false accusations against them. They don't go anywhere, they stay inside as though they are captives. So what it means, it's that they are not literally captives, but by staying at home, not going outside, they are like captives. So you can't accuse them if they always stay at home, taking care of the household, of the children, taking care of your affairs. So the Prophet continues, وَلَكُمْ عَلَيْهِنَّ أَنْ لَا يُطِئْنَ فُرُشَهُنَّ. So you have the right upon them that they will not allow any person whom you dislike to enter your houses. So you married her, you took her to your house, either a house or apartment or any place where you live, and you told her, I don't like so and so in my house. You gave her instructions, whether male or female. Now they should obey you in this. If you don't like someone in your house, your wife should not allow access to that person into your house. And if she does, the Prophet ﷺ says, punish them, discipline them by tapping on them. Now, what will it mean? What does it mean? We will see. On the other hand, their rights upon you are epitomized in providing them with food and clothes in a reasonable manner. So your responsibility as a husband is to bring food to the table, to buy for her clothes. Her responsibility as a wife to stay at home and not to allow anyone into your house. Although she can work, this will be an agreement between you and her, and she should work in an environment whereby the teachings of Islam are not contravened, are not violated. So the point here is, if she allows anyone access into your house whom you don't like after warning her, then you can tap her lightly. Now we will see what it means, and this is the real meaning of فَضْرِبُهُنْ. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, in explaining the meaning of awanun lakum, he says, the Prophet ﷺ said, أطعموا الجائع وعود المريض وفك العاني. So al-ani is the plural of al-awani. What does it mean? Sufyan al-Thawri says it means al-asir. It doesn't mean assistant. And this is the problem. Always I complain about the problem of translations. So you find a word translated in another way. When you go into deep details, you find the translation is far away. So awan does not mean assistants. It means a captive, asir. So let's continue. Abu Musa al-Ashari said, the Prophet ﷺ said, feed the hungry. If someone is hungry, provide food to him or her. Pay visit to the ill or the sick, and set free those in captivity. وَفُكُّ الْأَسِيرِ وَفُكُّ الْعَانِ. So awan means asir. So the women, because they stay at home, they are like captives. So don't accuse them, don't mistreat them, because they don't have anyone to help them. You can accuse her, you can come with false accusations. People will trust you because you are a man, especially if you are in a patriarchal society. So the Prophet says, fear Allah, because if you accuse her falsely, Allah knows everything. So Ata was a tabi'i. Tabi'i is a person who met with the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, but he never saw the Prophet. So he became a Muslim after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, and he met with the companions of the Prophet, those who lived with the Prophet, saw the Prophet, believed in him, they became Muslims. So Ata is a tabi'i. He never met with the Prophet ﷺ. So Ata says, قلت لابن Abbas, I asked Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas is Prophet Muhammad's cousin. ما الضرب غير المبرح قال بالسواك ونحوه. So Ata says, I asked Ibn Abbas about the interpretation of beating a wife slightly without tormenting her. He replied, striking her with a siwak. Now actually I was planning to bring the siwak with me, but this is the siwak, this one. So in the context of the hadith, the Prophet tells you, you married your wife, your right among the rights, your rights upon her is that she will not allow anyone whom you don't like access to your house. So you warned her, I don't want this lady in my house, I don't want this man in my house, and then she does not obey you, she stubbornly brings that person in your house, then you have the right to tap her with the siwak. Now, yes, Tony.
I heard in the Saudi dialect, dar means to bite, and there was actually a Saudi that was biting his wife.
Yeah, dharb, it means, they said it means to bite. It's a abd. Yeah, actually among the connotations of the word dharb, there is no biting. Maybe it's a dialect. Yeah. So when his wife misbehaved, so he beat her on the hand. So he was biting her.
Yeah, everywhere, on the shoulders, on the arms.
Yeah, this is the problem. You know, people just take religious texts on the face value, they don't go deep into the meanings of the words. So Ibn Abbas says, you tap her with the siwak. Now, because I always give a marriage course which is compulsory to anyone who becomes a Muslim in order to marry. His marriage can't be solemnized in the court without attending the marriage course. Even in the court, when they give him a certificate that he became a Muslim, there is a clause down which says in case of marriage, you have to refer to the IPC. And when they go to the IPC, they send them here. Now, I always ask the people who attend this course, when we talk about this issue, if you found your wife in your house, sitting across a strange man, he's not her brother, he's not her father, he's not related to her in any way. So you came back from work, you opened the door, you found your wife sitting on the other side and the man sitting on this side, and both of them were talking to one another. 90% of the people I ask these questions, especially people from the Middle East, 90% of them, they say, I will kill her. So they go to the point of killing. Some of them say, I will ask questions. Some of them say, I will be angry. So siwak. Now, even in the worst case scenario, in terms of your wife cheating on you, you don't have the right to kill her. Even in the worst case scenario that you found your wife cheating on you, you don't have the right to kill her. So what if just she is talking to the man? Actually, because I've mentioned this, let us go to this ayah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, والذين يرمون أزواجهم ولم يكن لهم شهداء إلا أنفسهم فشهادة أحدهم 4 شهادات بالله إنه لمن الصادقين والخامسة أن لعنة الله عليه إن كان من الكاذبين ويدرأ عنها العذاب أن تشهد 4 شهادات بالله إنه لمن الكاذبين والخامسة أن غضب الله عليها إن كان من الصادقين. So the translation is, as for those who launch a charge against their wives and have in support no one, they don't have any evidence except their own evidence. So they have a solitary evidence by themselves. So if someone came, he saw his wife in the act with another man, he doesn't have 4 witnesses to support him. So if they will have to testify 4 times. What will they say? they will testify with an oath by Allah that they are solemnly telling the truth. And the fifth oath should be that they solemnly invoke the curse of Allah on themselves if they are telling a lie. So the Quran is telling you that in the event that you found your wife cheating on you, you don't have witnesses, you're only one person. So here you will swear in the court 4 times that you're telling the truth, 4 times. And the 5th time you will invoke the curse of Allah, that if I'm telling a lie, then may Allah curse me. Now if it's the lady, she will also swear. She will swear 4 times that her husband is lying, and the 5th she will invoke the wrath of Allah if she is lying. Now I always ask women, what is worse, Allah's curse or wrath? So the man, in his 5th testimony, he says, I invoke the curse of Allah upon me if I'm lying. So if I am accusing falsely my wife, I invoke the curse of Allah. This is the man. And the woman, in her testimony, she will say, I invoke the wrath of Allah. So what is worse, curse or wrath? Curse. So imagine the man is invoking the curse. So a curse from the Arabic perspective means to be driven away, to be expelled from the mercy of Allah. So when Allah tells you, now you are on your own, don't come to me, I won't help you, I won't bless you, so you're cursed. But wrath, this is extreme anger. So the extreme anger, you can do something to remove it. So even in the worst case scenario, when a woman cheats on her husband, when she swears, her oath is less intense than the oath of the man, even in such a situation. So the point is, even in the worst case scenario, the man doesn't have the right to kill his wife, let alone meet her with... Yes, brother.
Also, after that oath, if the woman said the oath also, like if the man said the oath, it's by law, that after that she will be divorced.
Yes, yes.
And still he has to pay her the rights.
Yes, yes, yes. So those who claim that Muslims mistreat women, let them ponder over this. So you find, well, actually this issue brought me a problem. I was at university and the teacher was teaching us about witnesses in cases of crime, in cases of childbirth, and in different ways. So when we reached this verse, I simply asked a question. I said, if for example someone doesn't trust his wife and he installs a camera in his house, and when he comes back home he sees a video clip of what the woman was doing it, so will this camera be in lieu of 4 witnesses? Now instead of answering my innocent question, he asked me, from where do you get your questions? Now don't I have mind? Can't I think? So do I need to get someone to give me questions? And instead of answering my question, he kicked me out of the class to wait outside. So after that, I researched myself. Can anyone tell us if, for example, someone doesn't trust his wife and he installs a camera in his house, and then he comes, he sees a video which shows everything, can this video be taken to court to be in lieu of 4 witnesses?
From law perspective, you need to take the permission first, second,
Permission from?
from the Minister of Justice.
The Minister of Justice.
Yeah, or the Minister of Interior. Anyway, like the law. This woman, like match.
Yes, Tony.
I would say no, because I don't think
It's like pornography. That's a good point. What else? I asked scholars about this issue. They said that video can't be taken in lieu of 4 witnesses for so many reasons. One of them, the one you've mentioned, so they can't see because it's pornography and it's haram to look at the private parts of people. 1. 2, they said that in Islam we are not allowed to spy on one another. So this is a way of spying. وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا. It's a verse in the Quran, don't spy. Actually, there is a time, Umar ibn al-Khattab himself, when he's caliph, he was patrolling the city of Medina and he heard some sounds emanating from a house. He climbed over a fence to go to the house. The man was there drinking with the lady. The man told him, although you are caliph, You've done something wrong. First, you've entered my house without my permission. 2, you are spying on me. 3, you didn't enter from the door. And the Quran says if you enter into houses, enter through the door. Then Umar had to apologize. So Khalifa al-Muslimin, a strong personality like Umar, this guy is reminding him of his mistakes which he has done in order to violate the privacy of this person. Also, they said that what guarantees do we have that this man has ulterior motives? Maybe he married her because of the money. Now he has the money. He wants to frame her in order to divorce her and to marry another one. So with all these reasons, they said it's not allowed. So even in this case, you're not allowed. So what if just meeting your wife, talking to a stranger, and you reach the point of killing her? We've heard of honor killings, which is extremely against Islam. So those who claim that Muslims mistreat women, they should read the interpretations of such verses. Now, on the other side, because some of them who accuse us, some of them are Christians and claim to be followers of Christianity. Let's see from the Bible point of view. What does it say? If a man commits adultery with another man's wife, with the wife of his neighbor, both the adulterer and the adulteress must be put to death. This is in Leviticus chapter 20 verse 10. So according to the Bible, if someone is committing adultery, a woman is betraying her husband, cheating on him with another man, a neighbor, both of them have to die. So the Quran didn't say kill them. The Quran said let them swear. So which one is more radical? Is it the Bible in this perspective or the Quran? The Quran says she will swear. The Bible says put them to death. Don't ask questions. Even it doesn't give you mechanisms on how to kill them. Then let's see. Points to consider. Actually, there is another verse. Maybe it's somewhere else because it talks about... Let us first agree in a principle that men and women being equal in terms of dignity does not necessarily mean uniformity regarding the means in which their equality is implemented. Yes, we are equal before Allah in dignity. If we do good deeds, we're rewarded the same. But physiologically, we are different. So this equality will not necessarily be implemented the same. So everyone has his role to play. The man has his role to play according to the skills that Allah has given him and according to his physiological strength, and the woman has her roles to play. So you cannot say because we need equality, so me as a man I will start being pregnant, I want to bear children. So there are some things which we can't do. So equality does not necessarily mean uniformity, that everything the women do, men will do. Everything that men do, women will do. No way, we are different. So this equality is in things which we are unanimous, we are equal, but there are some things in which we are different. So although tapping a wife has been sanctioned in the Quran as one among the means of remedying her misbehavior, the man is not compelled to resort to such a measure in all situations and circumstances. So scholars tell you that you're not compelled. It's not compulsory that you have to do it. Because as we said before, every person has his unique way of disciplining him, of reforming the behavior. And when you discipline someone, you don't mean to torture the person, you mean to deliver the message that you don't like the behavior. So some people, instead of focusing on reforming the person, they focus on torturing the person, which is not allowed in Islam. So that option should exclusively be resorted to when the wife is in a flagrant defiance of her husband and the man has exhausted all other means of reforming her, and if he's sure it will work. If it can't work, then you resort to other means. Different men have different ways of reforming the behaviors of their wives. Now, in the Bible, Paul says, let the woman learn in silence with all subjugation. So the woman would learn, she's not allowed to speak. She has to listen to the man, to obey the man. She doesn't have any say, according to Paul in the Bible. But I suffer not. I suffer not means I don't agree. I bear not. I don't agree, Paul says, a woman to teach, nor usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve. This is in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 11. So Paul says, women will always be in silence. You mistreat her, she will keep quiet. When she's learning, she will learn quietly. If she has questions, she will ask through her husband. Here where we have ladies, they always ask questions here, they participate. So Paul says they should be in silence. This is in the Bible. So if anyone claims that, we don't give women their rights, remind them of such verses in the Bible. So the Prophet ﷺ, what did he say about a woman? He said, she believed in me when people rejected me. Who was that? Khadija. So he's speaking highly of his wife. When people rejected him, the first person to believe in him was his wife Khadija. So he was speaking highly of her. So here in the Bible, Paul is telling us she should be in silence, subjugation. She can't work. She can't have authority over the man. Aisha, Prophet Muhammad's wife, was teaching the Sahaba, the companions. She was an authority in the narrations of the Prophet ﷺ, and they were learning from her. So Paul says, no way. So where do women have value? According to the interpretation of the Bible, according to Paul's interpretation of the Bible, or according to Islam. Also in the Bible, listen to this. If two men fight together, and the wife of one draws near to rescue her husband from the hand of the one attacking him, and puts out her hand and seizes him by the genitals. So two people are fighting, one is stronger than the other. So the wife of the weaker one comes to rescue her husband by touching the private parts of his enemy. What does the Bible say? Then you shall cut off her hand. Your eye shall not pity her. It's in Deuteronomy chapter 25 verses 11 to 12. So compare the Quran, what it says about women, and compare the Bible. So here it's a very beautiful quote which says, a husband and wife must operate like two wings on the same bird, or two wings of the same bird. Or two wings of or on. Okay. A husband and wife must operate like two wings on the same bird. If they don't work together in full partnership, the marriage will never get off the ground. So there is partnership between a man and his wife. So this partnership can't come by force. You can't get the partnership by beating her. For example, if Tony, you are my business partner and I beat you every time, will you continue being my partner? No way. So partnership means working together, being in harmony, friendly, synergizing, complementing one another. And actually, if you need more, there is a book called The 7 Laws of Life and of Love. And actually, these are books which people have to read before they marry, even when they are married. And actually, I would suggest to competent authorities the marriage issue to be taught from high school up to university, because a lot of problems happen because of ignorance. You get ignorance from the part of women and from the part of men, and this is a very important institution. If there is no stability at home, we are going to have criminals, because children who come from broken homes, they will be criminals. So you do a research on it. So we need a stable house where a child will come back home, will find two parents talking together in good terms with one another, not war every time, ever fighting, shouting. It doesn't work. You're sending a negative message to the children. So this is an important issue that we have to teach men and women before they marry. When they are married, even we should continuously give them courses on how to be a good husband and how to be a good wife. And we provide them with research findings in order to confirm to them that this is very important. So the aim behind legislating striking the wife lightly, and not to torment her or inflict pain on her, but rather to convey the message that the aim behind legislating striking the wife lightly is not to torment or inflict pain on her, but rather it's to convey the message that you are unhappy with some aspects of her behavior. Now, if there are other ways of conveying this message that you know they are most effective, then you follow those ways. And this requires to read the personality of your wife, to read the personality of your husband, to know what she likes, what she doesn't like, to know what he likes and what he doesn't like. So Ibn Abbas and Ata, a tabi'i, held the opinion that if the husband decides to lightly strike his wife as a last resort, then it should not be severe and tormenting, and he should make sure it doesn't leave a mark on her body. So if this is your last resort, you want to strike her lightly with a siwak, then make sure it doesn't leave a mark, and make sure you avoid the face and some other soft places of her body. Now there is this quote which is beautiful. I liked it. It says, behind every great man is not a woman. You know, we always say behind every great man is a woman. But here he says, who is Professor Tariq Ramadan, he says, she is with him, not behind him. So she is beside him, not behind him. And this is a Muslim scholar. Does anyone know where Tariq Ramadan is from? No, he's from Turkey. Yeah, he's from Turkey. And actually, he's using Scientology to propagate Islam. So he's preaching Islam from the perspective of science discoveries, and he's doing a very good job. So this is what he says: behind every great man is not a woman. She is beside him. She is with him, not behind him. So Khadija was always with the Prophet ﷺ, Salama, Aisha, they were always supporting him. Aisha would go to battles with the Prophet ﷺ. So although tapping a wife with miswak, as we said, was legislated, after almost exhausting other means of reforming her behavior in terms of disobedience, among others, and wrongdoing, there are many prophetic traditions that prohibit violence against women. One of them is narrated by Abdullah bin Zama. He says, عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا يجلد أحدكم امرأته جلد العبد ثم يجامعها في آخر اليوم. It's in Sahih al-Bukhari. So it was narrated by Abdullah bin Zama that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, no one should ever beat his wife the same way he beats his slave and then enjoy conjugal rights with her at the end of the day. So what does it mean? Let's ponder over this. No one should beat his wife the way he beats his slave, and then at night he wants to be intimate with her. Don't do that. First of all, from the Islamic point of view, you are not allowed to beat even a slave. It's not allowed. And actually the expiation for beating a slave is to set him free. And there are a lot of examples where, for example, there is a man by the name Abu Mas'ud. Abu Mas'ud was very angry with his slave and he was whipping him. And the Prophet ﷺ came from behind seeing him whipping his slave. The Prophet told him 3 times, you must know Abu Mas'ud, you must know, you must know. Abu Mas'ud didn't recognize the voice of the Prophet ﷺ. So the 4th time, Abu Mas'ud turned and he saw it was the Prophet. So the Prophet ﷺ told him, you must know that Allah is more powerful over you than you are over this slave. In other words, Allah can punish you by tormenting this slave. So Abu Mas'ud set the slave free, and he said, I will never ever beat a slave again. And this is with regard to a slave. So what about your partner, your life partner, your wife? Beating her, treating her with violence? So this is gruesome. Another hadith, it was narrated by Muawiyah bin Hayda al-Qushayri, قال يا رسول الله ما حق زوجة أحدنا عليه قال أن تطعمها إذا طعمت وتكسوها إذا اكتسيت ولا تضرب الوجه ولا تقبح ولا تهجر إلا في البيت كيف وقد أفضى بعضكم إلى بعض. So this is a question. So Muawiyah bin Hayda asked the Messenger of Allah, O Messenger of Allah, what are the rights of our wives? The Prophet said, to feed her when you eat and to clothe her when you buy clothes for yourself. If you intend to discipline her, then do not strike her severely. Avoid hitting her face, lest you make her look ugly or disgraced. And do not abandon her bed to go to another house, i.e., don't leave her alone in the house. Now the question which wasn't translated, how would you do that after you've been intimate with one another? Now the Prophet ﷺ was always connecting beating with intimacy. Does anyone know why? So don't beat her the way you beat your slave, and at the end of the day you want to be intimate with her. You have to enjoy your conjugal rights. Yes, Tony?
It contradicts each other.
It contradicts one another, because when you enjoy your conjugal rights, you want to be happy. You want to satisfy your carnal desires. She wants to be happy. So she can't be happy, or she cannot satisfy your carnal desires and her carnal desires when she's angry. So this is a moment of happiness. So you can't do it. This is a contradiction. Nifaq, hypocrisy. What else? What else? Another thing is, it's a misconception among Muslims that, he's entitled to being intimate with his wife every time, even when she's not in moods. No, you have to put her in moods in order to be intimate with her. So the Prophet says, when she's not in her moods, you annoyed her, you angered her, don't try to be intimate with her. It won't work. And actually this is a topic by itself. Also, there is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. One of his companions, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he used to be proud because he was a good fighter, he was a strong person. He used to think that he was better than the weak. What did the Prophet ﷺ tell them? The Prophet ﷺ told him, إِنَّمَا تُنصَرُونَ وَتُرْزَقُونَ بِضُعَفَائِكُمْ. You're given victory and you're given your sustenance by the sincere supplication of the weak among you. So the weak people, when they pray for you, Allah will bless you. Allah will give you sustenance. So don't look down upon the people. So among them the women, the dua that she will pray for you, it will mean a lot. So will she pray for you when you annoy her? All these are teachings of the Prophet ﷺ discouraging Muslims from being violent with their wives. So now some people claim that, the same way a man can punish his wife, whether it's using the siwak or otherwise, the woman should also be given the same opportunity to punish her husband. So what do they say, scholars? Giving a wife the option of advice and guidance in the event of her husband's obstinacy does not mean she is only restricted to that. Apart from that, she has the right to use other means that she thinks are most effective in reforming her husband, so long as they do not contradict with the teachings of Islam. So if the husband does not fulfill his duties at home, if the husband is mistreating the woman, she has other means to resort to, but she should avoid beating him, because if she thinks of beating him, he will turn into a monster. So in the Quran or the teachings of Islam, they don't recommend a woman beating her husband, even if she's a wrestler, even if she's trained in karate and taekwondo, because men are created in such a way that they are aggressive. So if she does that, he will do it more, and it will be violence over violence. And actually, two wrongs don't make a right.
Actually, it's a real story. It happened in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
I went for a fatwa.
Mm-hmm.
What should he do?
Mm-hmm.
He get hit.
Mm-hmm. What did the scholars tell him?
Actually, I don't remember, but that's the topic that catch my attention.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't read the full fatwa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he was asking for that, like, okay,
She's always punching him.
The woman.
Yeah, but we have to listen to her story as well. Before issuing a fatwa in such a situation, I would bring them both. Listen to the woman and listen to the man. Because actually it's a problem. Let me give you my personal story. I used to have an uncle, brother of my father, who was very belligerent. He liked to fight. So he would always come and hit me without reason. I'm sitting, he would hit me and run. So I complained to my grandfather, he did nothing. Complained to my father, he did nothing. I complained to each and everyone, nothing happened. And he continued. And when he knew that I complained about him, yet nothing happened, he grew even more stubborn. So I was helpless. So no one, even my father isn't helping me, my grandfather isn't helping me. So what did I do? I devised in my head, I said, okay, now I have to depend on myself. I have to come up with my defensive mechanisms. He was far older than me. I was maybe 13, he was 20. So there is a big gap. So what did we do? In the past, and I think maybe in your country also, when we were kids, we would line up, make one line, and then whenever we wanted to play soccer or football, so they say, go this side. So we make two teams. So I used to play on his team, but on this particular occasion, I played on another team. I used to be a defender. On this occasion, I was a striker because he was a defender. So what happened? So the ball was coming up. So he was aiming at it to head it. For me, I was aiming at heading his jaw. And actually, I did hit his jaw. He bit his tongue. He cried like a baby for 2 hours. So I told him, if you mistreat me again, it will be your end. So that was the end of him. The point here is, when you put someone to a corner, no matter how he is, he will always find defensive mechanisms. So if this is the case, the husband, if this continues, it will be a problem. The marriage can't exist. He will also, either he might find criminals. Yeah, there is a situation whereby I heard of a son beating his father. And what did his father do? He paid criminals to go and beat his son. So they beat his son and he went in hospital, and finally, after investigation for 6 months, they discovered it's his father who hired the criminals to go and hit the son. So these things do happen in different areas, and actually we don't want it to reach there. So maybe they need to sit. A judge has to listen to her and to listen to the man to come up with a viable solution. But it's not allowed in any way. She's not allowed to do that. Even the man isn't allowed to do her. We are not in wrestling. Yeah, it's not allowed. Yeah. So they have larger brain centers for sexual drive and aggression, action and aggression. So if she goes one step, the man will go 2, 3, 4 steps, and it will not be marriage. Then we want it to be intimacy, not fighting. They're not in a boxing ring. So this is why scholars say, even if she can fight, they don't recommend her to resort to that. So actually, time is going, and the topic is, I want to end with this, an important slide. Let me quote this. This one is about the steps that you can do in order to strengthen your relationship with your spouse. So the first one is to apologize. So if any of you, husband and wife, if you do a mistake, you have to apologize. Say thank you when someone does something good. I have some cases whereby either a wife or husband have complained to me that whatever they do, their spouses don't thank them for that. They take it for granted, especially in terms of men who paid a lot of money in dowry. They feel entitled to everything, and they feel they don't need to thank them. So the word thank you will mean a lot to a spouse, either man or wife. Breathe before you respond. So he or she says something, before you breathe, think twice. This, by breathing, actually it will have an effect on you. You might change the statement. Take care of yourself. And actually what they mean by this is to be clean. In as much as the man wants his wife to be clean, when they're intimate, you have to be clean. I have heard cases whereby a woman came to me, her husband was a mechanic, and he came from the garage before before taking a shower, before brushing, he would like to be intimate with her. And she would tell him, please take shower before that. He said, no, it's my right. She told me openly, she lost appetite for the man. So in as much as you want her to be clean, to take care of her personal hygiene, you have to do the same. Compliment your sweetie, your loved one. If she does something good, compliment her, praise her. Think kind thoughts, so kind words. So you have to be positive. Consider their point of view. If they tell you something, don't ignore it. Notice 3 things you are grateful for every day. And this is very important. So every day, either in the morning or in the evening, when you come back home, you tell her 3 good things which you've noticed about her. And actually, Dale Carnegie wrote in his book How to Win Hearts and Make Friends. So he talked about a group of women who were going to a church, and actually they were supporting one another because they had problems with their husbands. So it was a support group giving advice to one another on how to reform the misbehavior of their husbands. So the priest in the church told them that, you know what, today each one of you go back home, ask your husband to list down 6 things that he wants you to change. So you go back home, ask your husband, the priest asked us to come to you and ask you to list 6 things that you want us to change. So all of them went and they told their husbands wrote. Only one man, he didn't write anything. So she told him about the assignment. He said, okay. So he went to sleep. He woke up early morning. He went to a flower shop. He bought for her 6 flowers with a card and wrote on the card, I love you the way you are. I love you the way you are. So she went to the church. She told the priest. Everyone was surprised. So they later asked the man, why did you do that? He said, if I listed 6 things which she wanted me to change, she would list 1 million things that she wanted me to change. And actually, that was the beginning of the relationship to become good and to become stronger. Being positive. Okay, yes. Now, you see, those who accuse Muslims that there is violence against women. The number of American troops killed in Afghanistan and Iraq between 2001 and 2012 was 6,488. Yet, the number of American women who were murdered by current or ex-male partners during that time was 11,766. So where is there violence against women? So this is a big number, and this is according to statistics done in America by itself. So are these Muslims doing this? Women are much more likely to be victims of intimate partner violence by 85% and men by 15%. Where? In the West. So a lot of women have been held captive by domestic violence, whether through physical or financial or emotional abuse or a combination of the 3. And this is also research. For example, in Brazil, which has some troubling statistics. Reports indicate that every 15 seconds a woman is assaulted. Every 15 seconds. In Russia, about 600,000 women suffer from domestic violence, and this is according to the Russian Ministry of Interior. So Vivian House, who was Russian, was compelled to write this. I wish someone would look into why our guys are so angry. Has it always been this way? So she's complaining about the mistreatment of women in Russia. In Argentina, a preventive measure against violence targeting women. They did a preventive measure, the women. Some women resorted to learning martial arts in order to defend themselves from their ruthless husbands, because they would always complain it was an issue. So they had to learn martial arts in order to defend themselves. So all these are statistics from non-Muslim countries. Now, the one that I will end with is this. According to the Elite Daily Magazine, there was an article written by a lady called Christina. She was talking about femicide, and this is the killing of women. Femicide at its worst. Argentina was number 1, El Salvador number 2, India number 3, Honduras number 4, and Mexico number 5. All these non-Muslim countries. So any comments, any questions? Bigger pardon? Yeah, Latin America and then India, where women are killed almost every second. But because they are non-Muslims, we know little about them. But they always focus on the Muslims. So if you're in the West or in the East, you listen to the media, you feel that it's horrible in Muslim countries with regard to treating women. Yet statistics show otherwise. For example, one day, and this is authentic, the Prophet is sitting with his companions. He had invited them to have a meal with him. So one of his wives, I forgot whether it was Hafsa or Sophia, one of his wives comes with a dish, with a plate of food. So his companions are there. And Aisha breaks that plate. And it breaks into 2 parts. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, collects the food. And he tells his companions, Kulu gharat ummukum. So eat, your mother has become jealous. So he was saying it in a polite way. So what did he? He never shouted at her. He didn't yell at her. He just brought the broken plate. He gave it to Aisha, the broken plate, and he took a plate of the same value among the plates of Aisha and gave it to this woman who had brought food, and she went. Problem solved. So he never. Anas bin Malik said he stayed with the Prophet, peace be upon him, 10 years. Not only didn't he hit his wives, even yelling at them, shouting at them. For example, there is a time when Sophia, the Prophet ﷺ was talking to Sophia, who was of Jewish origins. So Aisha tells him, what do you want from this short woman? The Prophet says, لَقَدْ قُلْتِ كَلِمَةً لَوْ مُزِجَتْ بِمَاءِ الْبَحْرِ لَمَزَجَتْهُ. So you've said a word or a statement, if it were to be mixed with the water of the ocean or the sea, it will change the color and the taste of the water, which means it's a heavy word. So Aisha felt sorry. So there were some situations where if it's today, imagine for example, some men today, belligerent men, you invited your CEO, you've been working so hard to bring him to your house, you need a deal from him, you have a minister coming to your house, so one of your wives brings a dish and then another one kicks it in front of the minister. She will be in trouble, right? She will be in a big trouble because you have a purpose of inviting these people. But the Prophet never did anything. So even his companions never beat their wives. So if you are a good Muslim, you will model your behavior upon the example of the Prophet ﷺ, who was never hostile to his wives. Yet they used to do some things. We are human beings. We are not infallible. Even when he was giving khutbah, they used to come. Yeah, his imam is giving khutbah. They are coming, playing with him. So he would hold them in one hand and give khutbah, continue with khutbah. Yes. Yeah, so when he's performing the sujood, they will come on his back, sit on his back, and he would wait until they go down. Yeah, stay on sujood. Yes. Yeah, these are all topics to discuss, children, women. Yes. Yeah, and actually we should appreciate it that they are actually playing in the mosque. Why? They would have been in another place. But the thing that they came to the masjid, this is a very big milestone. So we should encourage them, talk to them in a polite way, good way, encourage them. And this is the thing that I'm always talking about. We don't reason out with children. We want to force them, do this. No, just reason out with him. Tell him why he should behave the way. Convince him. If you convince him, he will do whatever you want. But for us, it's shouting. No, this doesn't work. A few of us take time to take the children out and reason out with them, talk to them in a good way, a few of us. And if you do it, they will understand. I will give you just one example. I was driving to pick up my wife in Rauda. So there was a pavement, so you go out, you exit from the main street and you go into a pavement to go to the place where she was working. So I found children playing on the road in the pavement over there. So I honked, they didn't care. 3 times I'm honking, they didn't care. So what did I do? I parked my car and came to them. So I even kicked the ball with them twice, 3 times. Then I held the ball. Then I said, I would like to talk to you. So they all came. Alhamdulillah, they listened. I told them, do you like your country? They said yes. If you love your country, should it be by words or by actions? They said by actions. So how will you love your country? How will you prove that you love your country? One of them said, I want to be a soldier. Another one, a doctor. Another. So I said, can you realize your dreams when you're paralyzed? They said no. Can you realize your dreams when you're in a hospital for a long time? They said no. I said, do you believe that there are a lot of drug addicts? They said yes. Do you believe that there are a lot of people drinking alcohol? They said yes. So I said, what if I were a drunk addict and ran over you? They said, you would go to jail. I said, yes, I would go to jail, but you would go to the grave. So maybe I would come out of the jail, but you will be dead. So me being in the jail will not bring you back to life. So they said, so I said, next time, don't play here. And until now, if you drive there, you don't see them. They said, inshallah, inshallah, they left. So had I shouted to them, they would have been stubborn. But I just appealed to their conscience. And this is what we need, to learn how to talk to people, be polite to them. But most of us is whoa, 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 shouting. It doesn't work.
McDonald's makes a playground for them.
Yeah.
So they want to go to McDonald's.
They want to go to McDonald's, instead of the mosque. Yeah.
Actually, now every case, like they're not that much humble.
Yeah.
They're yelling. It's like they're on the street.
Yeah, and actually, that yelling it doesn't work, and actually it brings negative results. For example, where I grew up, we used.
To my own eyes, the kids run away.
Yeah.
Run out of the mosque.
Yeah, at least they ran out of the mosque. Where I grew up, we used to have a man. He was like a policeman of the masjid. So when you go to pray Taraweeh, he won't pray. So he's looking for children to prevent them from misbehaving. So that's it. He will hold a stick, and whenever they misbehave, he will just threaten them. So what did they do? They would come up with cards. So but with the time when he prays, they bring cards, they throw them on him as a punitive measure for him. So they reacted in a different way. So he thought by doing that they will stop. They didn't stop. They rather became more aggressive. So we have to learn their psychology, talk to them on their level, let them understand. This is why I always tell my friends, it's good to teach your children to memorize the Quran, but tell them the meaning. Let them memorize something which they know. Let them learn the morals and manners. But it's over. So the child becomes like a parrot. He doesn't know what he's reciting, what he's memorizing. This is wrong. Tell them the meaning. And you tell them according to their level of understanding. Make it appealing to them. Be innovative in it. They will love it. But in most cases, you tell someone, go to the Quran class, they don't like to go. Because they're still following archaic methods, which are not appealing to the children. So we still have a lot to do.